right, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
All right, if you're watching this, please hit the subscribe button and bell icon so you never miss an update. And make sure you hit it 2 or 3 times. Well, it has to be an odd number of times because every time you hit it, an even number, it would undo it. We just want to make sure that you're subscribed. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please head on over to YouTube and help us out. We appreciate the support. And as always, we hope that you're sharing your favorite episodes and clips with your friends. Help us get the word out. We certainly appreciate it. Today, we are reviewing the AFC South. And I broke out the old Manning jersey.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. I thought we'll dust it off and, like dusting off your cleats or whatever. I did you see Edgerrin James's quote?
Edgerrin James's entire enshrinement speech was amazing.
Was it? I didn't want. I wish I would have watched it. I didn't. He's awesome. He cracks me up. Just the whole thing about the Colts all weekend. I didn't watch it all, but I caught it drifting, filtering through social media, and just the whole weekend looked amazing. And just having fun with it. Everything was just hysterical. Everything that came out of everybody's mouth, including Jim Irsay, it was just hysterical. They looked like they were really enjoying themselves, and I was happy to see it. Even Dungy, right? I busted guys' balls. I do like Tony Dungy, contrary to popular belief. It was good to see the gang back together.
Yeah, especially when I saw Marvin Harrison in his gold jacket with all the guys, and seeing, the early 2000s team with Marvin and Peyton and Edgerrin James there. It was super cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. So, you had a big weekend too, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was able to call into the Pat McAfee show last week and talk to them a little bit. And we kind of talked about it. They kind of, because they have Pittsburgh Steelers fans and a Patriots fan there. What I said got mocked a little bit, and I expected that.
Yeah.
But we kind of talked about how Jacob Eason should be more than capable after a year being coached by Frank Reich and his coaches, and after a year behind Phillip Rivers and watching him. And Phillip Rivers is a check down master. He's a guy who progresses through his reads quickly. That's something Jacob Eason needed. So I thought that I needed to go on there and have a message for Colts Nation to just chill out a little bit. We'll be in good hands, and Frank Reich even came out and said that Carson Wentz, after they did his surgery, he might be back by week 1. And if he's not back by week 1, they don't expect him to miss all but maybe 2 games. So that's a good thing. But I still think, like, with the way the Colts schedule lines up, I still think we can beat the teams I have them beating. I think Jacob Eason can do it. I think Carson Wentz can do it. So, it was just a message to Colts Nation, just relax a little bit.
Yeah, when you watch the clip, when you called in, I think you caught Pat Mac off guard a little bit. I think he didn't expect the knowledge to come out of your mouth. He mocked you a little bit. He was like, his research. I can't imagine what kind of people they get call in that they're doing their research. That's the whole internet thing, right? Everybody's an expert and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you had a pretty solid breakdown of what's happening. And I agree with you. Pat Mac spun it there at the end. Like, there's going to be a quarterback controversy in Indianapolis, and which I mean, there could be. He did make that valid point. There have been a lot of guys that have stepped in under center and never left, that people never expected to do anything. And Tom Brady was certainly one that coming in from the draft, no one ever expected that he would replace Drew Bledsoe, and look what he's done. So, but they're comedians. They were kind of mocking it a little bit, but I thought you did a really good job of breaking that down. That Frank Reich is a quarterback whisperer. Anybody that's not paying attention, and I'm sure those guys know that. And he's, Wentz has got some experience. He's got a Super Bowl win. Reich has done nothing but been around winning coaches and quarterbacks his entire life. Jim Kelly, one of the best quarterbacks ever. We've talked about this before, and it's the best thing that could have ever happened to Jacob Eason. It is. And if Eason doesn't do it, it's because he can't play at this level. He's been given everything else. So I agree with it. I thought it was an excellent analysis. And you didn't say he was going to upend anybody. You just said that there's no need to panic, that the machine is balanced. That's what I love about Frank Reich. This isn't the Tony Dungy, when you pull the linchpin, everything falls apart. Colts, this is a well-balanced football team. Bill's above Bill in New England. When one person steps out, someone else can step in and at least maintain the momentum without hurting them. And your point was Easton's going to do that, right?
Yeah, that pretty much embodies everything I was trying to say. And, when we talk about quarterback controversy, I don't know if there'll even be much of one, because if Jacob Eason does come in, do well for a couple games, Carson Wentz is still making a lot of money. They're going to put him, that's his team. Frank Reich has said multiple times since he got the surgery, this is his team. So they're going to keep Carson Wentz playing. But if Jacob Eason does well, there are a lot of people talking about Sam Ehlinger, this year's quarterback that we drafted. And so I think if Jacob Eason does well, just gives Chris Ballard an opportunity to be able to trade a guy that has shown some upside playing in an NFL offense to somebody and get a second or third round pick back for a guy that you drafted in the fourth round, I believe. So I think it's a win-win situation. Every way this goes, it's going to be win-win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Pat Mack made a comment about Ballard didn't think Eason was the guy last year. He didn't think he was the guy this year because he went and got Wentz. I don't think that's fair to Jacob Eason. This team is ready to win, and he went and got a quarterback he's familiar with, who has been on a winning team, that knows his system. That's plug and play. And I think that's smart. That's not handing the reins to a quarterback that's not ready to it. I think I think that's smart on Frank Reich's part and Ballard's part to not overload this kid. If Eason is the future of the organization, I think they're doing it right, letting him just slide into it. The whole Aaron Rodgers thing and Steve Young, let him play around and for good people, and then when he's mature enough, just hand him the keys and let him go. Or he's not good enough, and we'll make him look good and trade him away. I don't know. But
yeah, people got to remember with Eason, if he's probably not going to do well against the Rams. The Rams have a really good defense. If he has to play them, it might not go well, and people are going to get hard on him. Just remember that this guy is basically a rookie. He took no snaps there was no preseason last year. He didn't take any snaps in preseason, no snaps in the regular season. Obviously, in the postseason game, no snaps. He barely had snaps in training camp. It was kind of a busted training camp, a weird training camp last year. So he basically a rookie going through his first real training camp, about to go through his first real preseason, and then get into the season. So, for all that we want to hype him up, he's still going to be a rookie and he's still going to make mistakes. But I think because of the coaching, those mistakes will be limited.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side of that, the first 5 games are treacherous. They're just treacherous. I mean, they're home the first 2 games, the Seahawks and the Rams. They got then they're going to Tennessee to play the Titans for a division game against a very good Tennessee team. Then they go to Miami, come all the way down to Miami against a very good defensive Miami team. And then they have to go to Baltimore, 3 road games. So it was good. It was going to be tight anyway with a new quarterback, even with Wentz coming in. But I don't know that the whole thing's over. Even if they go 0-5, I don't know if the whole thing's over. I think this team's good enough to I mean, that would be disastrous, but I don't think that it would be the end of it. They'd certainly have a steep hill to climb, but we'll see. So, all right. So we're going to move on to anyway, that's really cool. You got to call and be on Pat Mack's show, and maybe he'll come be on this one. You think?
Yeah, maybe one day. You never know.
I tweeted a picture to AJ. I have a picture I think is AJ Hawk that I took in Maui in 2011, and at a Taco Bell in Maui. I tweeted it, tried to get him to respond to see if it was him, and he probably thinks it's creepy. I got some picture of him that might be him, and he probably blocked me on Twitter. All right, so we are breaking down the rest of the AFC South today. We're going to talk about the Colts. We're going to devote a whole hour to the Colts next week because they deserve it. An hour book. Today we're going to talk about the rest of the AFC South. For comedic value, I'm going to ask you the question I ask you every week. Who are we talking about first?
You already know. Surprisingly, it's not the worst team in the league from last year. Well, you should. All right. Who do you have finishing last?
I have a tie for last.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I have the Jags and the Texans both sucking ass all year long. Who do you guys have?
I have the Texans as the worst team in the league, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
Me too.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, I do too, right? I have both of them only winning one game, which is not going to happen. But it's just the way the whole simulator came out. It's not really going to happen that way. But I have them both really sucking ass, dragging at the bottom of this division, and I will argue that in a few minutes once we get to Duvall, y'all. But right now, let's go to the Houston Texans. Bob is gone. What is Bob doing? Does anybody know? Is he an offensive coordinator for some high school in Kalamazoo, Michigan?
He went back to Alabama, didn't he?
I don't even know. Seriously though, if Gase is a coordinator for a high school in Michigan, then Bob should at least be a head coach for a high school somewhere, right? Or he should hold out or walk out completely with that kind of disrespect. I mean, there's no way he should be anything. He should be above Gase no matter what he's doing. That's just what I'm saying.
He is Alabama's offensive coordinator.
University of Alabama?
Roll Tide.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it was before he became an NFL coach.
Yeah, and for all the hassle we give the guy, that's probably where he belongs. He probably will ride out the rest of his career and do really well there. It takes a lot to run I know what I'm talking about, to run an organization, an NFL organization, but you see so many coordinators that are so good at what they do, and they come in and they just can't handle running the entire operation. So I wish him the best of luck. I don't dislike him like I like Adam Gase or anything. I'm just glad he's not head coach in the NFL. Actually, I wish he was still head coach of the Texans.
I was about to say it'd almost be better if he was the coach still.
See, hold on. I don't think Bill O'Brien was a bad coach. I think he was just an awful general manager. That's what completely did the Texans in.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's fair. Yeah. So anyway, I started my preview last year for the Texans with the Texan fans are excited, but. And then we broke down why they were delusional. And I'm sure any Texan fans that heard it or would have heard it would have just as soon shot us or run over us with their pickup truck than listen to what we had to say. But we were right. I mean, what is it about Texas football, the Cowboys and the Texans and their delusions? Because this franchise this year, what a shit show. They had 4 wins last year. I think I even predicted they'd have 8 wins, but I said that they were delusional. They weren't going to vie for this division. That was going to be between the Colts and the Titans. But Bob's gone. They should have done something with their quarterback. I'm really not sure what in the hell's going on there. If I got somebody that doesn't want to be in my house, you bet your ass I'm opening the door and letting them out of the house. I don't understand this. And you can talk to me about contracts and I'm telling you, cut your losses and just dump the dead weight. You throw the dead weight overboard. Is he still skipping camp?
Deshaun? No, he's going through that the over 20-something sexual assault lawsuits that have been filed against him. So I don't know whether they're waiting to see what happens there before they try to trade him to get maximum value or what. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so he's been showing up at camp. I think he got an injury and he missed 5 days, I think. But he was there at the start of camp, and then he returned to camp. It was either yesterday or today. He's back at camp, and they've said that he's being professional about it. But, I would assume at some point he's going to end up before the regular season. I would assume he's going to be put on the commissioner's exempt list. Like with all these charges hanging over his head, I feel like there's just no way they let him play this year, right?
I don't know. I heard the Panthers were interested. They should send him to Jacksonville. Nah, we don't want him in the division, do we?
No,
if Deshaun is clear of all his allegations, if he is completely innocent, then a good spot for him would be the Miami Dolphins.
Okay, just let me chew on that for a while. You just can't go. I asked Jeff. You just can't go from not liking a guy, and then all of a sudden he comes to your team and you have to like him. I didn't have a problem with Brady. Jeff just can't get around it. So I got to chew on this Deshaun Watson thing in Miami. But I can see that. But he does have to clear all these hurdles. And if you have that many hurdles, you probably shouldn't be able to clear them all. That's just my opinion. You can misinterpret a lot of things. You could take a lot of false accusations for a lot of weird reasons. But when there's 20 of them, one of them's true, at least.
Yep. That's why I tell people about Big Ben and what he did in the past. Like, if you get caught for the same thing multiple times, like, take it as somebody who has gotten caught doing the same thing multiple times. Like, he probably did it at least one time, man.
Whatever do you mean, Hefe? No, just kidding. All right. Anyway, new coach, Dave Culley. There's not a lot to brag about with this guy, but he just might be the guy. I mean, he's an Andy Reid product. He spent time with Harbaugh in Baltimore, which, that's a whole offensive family in and of itself. His resume is not overwhelming, but he has a decent amount of experience with the right people. And as soon as I say that, then I have to say that he brought in Lovie Smith to run the defense. And here we go. You ready, Hefe?
Yeah, let's do it.
He's a Dungy disciple. One of the most overrated. Look, I just said something nice about the guy, and here we go again. Dungy's one of the most overrated coaches in NFL history. Look, I don't understand why people make such a big deal about Dungy, other than, Peyton Manning won a lot of games for him. And Lovie Smith, their defenses are terrible. I got it right here. Here we go. Lovie's defenses: 16th, 22nd, 4th. I give credit where credit's due. 14th, 3rd, 31st, 22nd, and 23rd. Doesn't sound like a defensive genius to me.
No,
I'm just saying. I don't. It's not what you'd expect from a defensive disciple of an alleged defensive guru, which Dungy was the guru and frequently had some of the worst defenses in the league. And there's an argument to make that Dungy was able to craft a defense to hold the offenses enough to let Manning outscore them. But when you're winning games 51-49, there's kind of a problem. At least you're winning games. I don't want to take that away from him. And I love what the 2000 Colts did, but I don't know that Lovie Smith was the guy. I just don't. So on the flip side of that, what I just said about Bob and that whole thing in the coordinator is that maybe Lovie Smith, most of those were head coaching jobs. So maybe just being the defense coordinator is his thing. Maybe he is the guy. I guess we'll see. Hopefully he is. They're in our division. I'd like the Colts to win, but I'd like to see this organization bounce back. I don't want any organization to just flounder at the bottom, except for Dallas, just because it's funny to watch their Their fans' heads explode, But I don't expect anything out of this team. I mean, I would pick 5 games because it's hard to lose 12 games. It's hard to lose that many games, but I wouldn't be surprised if they only win 1 or 2 games. It's just really, really bad. Like again this year, long year for them.
Yeah, same sentiment here. Like we said earlier, I have them finishing with the worst record in the league at 1-16. Just the effects of the tumultuous tenure of Bill O'Brien just continue to stranglehold this organization. And now, like we were talking about with Deshaun Watson, with his future in jeopardy, whether that's through a trade or through legal means, things are just looking absolutely horrendous for the Texans. Really, the only playmakers they have on the offensive side is David Johnson and Brandon Cooks. Both of these guys are out of their primes and on the back ends of their careers, and there's really nobody left on their defense now that 3-time Defensive Player of the Year J.J. Watt headed west to Arizona. So I have the Texans being, like I said, being the worst team in the league at 1-16.
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually have less wins for the Texans than you guys. Without Deshaun Watson, and we've talked about it before, it's really hard to go undefeated in the league, and it's really hard to go completely defeated in the NFL. But if any team's going to do it, it's going to be this one because, again, there's just no belief that whether it's a trade or the commissioner's exempt list, Deshaun Watson just isn't going to be in Houston. It's been pretty clear all offseason. He's not going to be there. And I like Tyrod Taylor. I talked about it last year, how much I like Tyrod Taylor. But the team around Tyrod Taylor here is just garbage, And another guy I like is Phillip Lindsay, But they still have David Johnson start. David Johnson had a terrible year last year, and then they're still not going to let Phillip Lindsay start. They have Mark Ingram. He's way past his prime. Barely got any touches last year with the Ravens, really. So, there's nothing on the offense that gives you promise. They didn't upgrade the O-line to maybe stabilize the offense a little bit, and the defense has again gotten weaker. They were one of the worst units in the league last year, and they're getting even worse this year. So between the offense and the defense, they're probably going to rank in the bottom 10 in both categories, maybe the bottom 5 in both categories. And again, I have them going 0-17.
Woo! Yeah, that's crazy. It could be done. I do want to say, though, that even their future's not looking bright because they only had 5 draft picks this year, and they didn't even get the pick until the 3rd round when they took a quarterback.
It's because Bob traded them all over to Miami.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier in the podcast, he was an awful general manager.
Yeah, and so we have to note that Dave Culley coming in. Everybody's seen those pictures like on social media of where the hoarders have all the shit piled up all over the counters and all over the place, and 175 Mountain Dew cans piled up beside the bed, and you can't even walk through, and the landlord has to come in and clean that out. That's what Dave Culley has to do. That's the mess that Bob left. And you just start somewhere, and you get tired because you think you're not getting anywhere, and then finally one day you turn around and you realize that the living room's clean. You still have the kitchen and the bedrooms to clean, but at least you got the kitchen clean. Culley's got a mess, a huge, huge, huge mess. And it's not only, this year's a wash. This is just figuring out who the guys are. You know what? What I think, this is the year where you find the guys that you're not looking for talent. You're looking for guys that want to work. And then you just cut dead weight next year, and you keep only the guys that want to work. This is the Brian Flores deal right here. You're just the guys that will run headfirst to a brick wall and then make sure everybody else does. And you set that tone in the locker room. Then you start bringing the talent in. This is at least 2, 3, 4 year project in Houston, in my opinion. But
that's optimistic.
Yeah, God bless the guy. I wish him well. Not too well, but all right. You ready to move on to Duvall, y'all?
Skitter Duvall.
All right. The other Florida team, that joke never gets old, man. I'd love that there is a third team in Florida. Yes, we have 3 of them. Doug Marrone is gone, who should have probably never been there. You may recall last preseason, I put that guy on the Jim Caldwell, Norv Turner, terrible coaches that continually get hired list. He didn't even make it a year, so no surprises here. And with Doug being gone, that means that the underachieving, riding around other people's coattails, Adam Gase, Jay Gruden is gone as well. My brother's a big-time coach, and I get important jobs. He's gone. So they also fired the defensive coordinator. I do have a confession, though. Last year when we were talking about the Jags and how horrible Marrone and Gruden were, I actually said that Todd Wash knew what he was doing, and that he could help the Jags win 5 games. I'm here to say that apparently I have no idea what I'm talking about, and you shouldn't listen to me on anything because they finished the season ranked 30th on defense. But Jesus Christ. In all fairness to Todd and me, I guess the front office is so bad, and last year's staff had just absolutely no control over what in the hell was going on. I talked about the cancer that was going on there in the locker room. I don't know that anybody else could have done any better than the defensive coordinator. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. They're all gone. And now the circus is in town. Urban Meyer's back in Florida, y'all. Tim Tebow's back in the NFL, playing in front of his friends and his family. Duvall, y'all. No, seriously, they've got like 30 people that go to the games, and they're all related to Tebow. Well, there are probably 30 other people that went, but they went the 30 people related to Tebow so they could double their ticket sales. Charlie Strong is back in Florida, right? Head coach of USF. This is a PR wet dream for Jacksonville. If we can't win, at least we can get friends and family. And I wonder if they got a friends and family ticket discount program going on. I bet they do. If they don't, they should, right? So what happens if this whole thing goes bust? I mean, rhetorical question. I guess in Indianapolis, you guys don't remember this, but when they came in 1984, we went 10 years of sellout crowds with, like 7 wins total. There wasn't a winless season, so 13 wins or something like that. Maybe they'll just keep buying tickets. I don't know. I guess they have nothing to lose. I mean, they only won 1 game last year, right? So even if Meyer doesn't know what he's doing, which we know that he does. He knows something about football. He knows more about football than I do. So I keep busting his balls. I probably ought to at least give him that. Meyer has brought in offense coordinator Darrell Bevel. He has 14 years experience as an OC and 1 year as an interim coach in Detroit after Patricia was fired. So I guess this means when the ship starts sinking and accusations of a toxic environment in the locker room surface, which Meyer's known for, and then Urban Meyer suddenly has to take a leave of absence, then Darrell will be ready to take over, right? We got it all set up. I see the front office might know what they're doing. I think they've got this all planned out. Anyway, I've spent way too much time just making up a bunch of bullshit about the Jags. I've probably spent way more time about them, talking about them than they will lead games this year. How many games you guys got them? I'm going to finish, but I want to know how many games you have them winning.
3.
6.
Oh, okay. Then I gave them the default 5 because I can't imagine them winning more than 5, but it's hard to win less than 5. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. You know that. But I just don't. I don't see it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence will be the 13th starting quarterback in 12 seasons for Jacksonville. There's rumors that he's struggling, but that's sensationalistic bullshit. That's the news trying to find. He's a rookie. What the hell's that? He's going to struggle. And
I've heard multiple former NFL players, whether they played offense, defense, or special teams, a lot of former NFL players say that the defense generally will dominate training camp no matter what. And then as the year goes on in practice throughout the week, the offense is torching the defense.
Yeah. Well, and look, I don't whether you think Lawrence is the answer or not is not the point. The kid's still a college senior. Right? So we gotta give him some room on that. But here is the absolutely obvious, overly debated, controversial question. Does he start right away, or do they go with Uncle Rico?
You got to start Trevor Lawrence. If you bring Trevor Lawrence in, you got to start him. He hasn't lost a regular season game, ever, right? High school and college, he never lost a regular season game.
Yeah.
You got to play him.
I just don't know why they don't do what we were talking about with Reich and Eason. Why they don't bring a veteran in, somebody like Fitzpatrick. I mean, what's Philip Rivers doing? Of course, Rivers ain't going to go play for Jacksonville. I can't say I blame him. Hell, call Chicago. They keep extra quarterbacks back in the storeroom. I mean, they've got probably 8 of them hidden back there. They love to collect quarterbacks. Nick Foles.
The Jaguars gave Chicago Nick Foles.
I know. Like I said, they'll be lucky to win 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very, very young. Urban Meyer, huge name in the college football world, but that doesn't always translate well to the NFL. So there's a huge question mark there whether he can be a good coach in the league. I mean, just look at Nick Saban. He's the greatest college football coach of all time, and he couldn't make it in the NFL. So even though you're a huge name, we just don't know. We'll see. But getting on the Trevor Lawrence thing, yeah, you absolutely have to start him day one. Like I said, this team is extremely young. There's going to be a lot of growing pains, but the more these guys are in there together, I think the better off it will be in the long run. They had a pretty good draft. Other than taking Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall, they spent their second first-round pick on Travis Etienne. I'm not big on taking a running back in the first round, but he is a very good playmaker, and he was at Clemson. So the chemistry with Trevor, especially them starting day one, that'll be a huge advantage for them. But yeah, they're young, inexperienced. Who knows what Urban's going to do? So although their future can be promising, I don't see anything really happening this season, which is why I have them at 3-14.
Yeah, and I want to harp on the future is promising part, because this team certainly is not built to win now. But realistically, the offense should be fairly good this year, should be fairly exciting to watch. Obviously, we've talked about Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne, I thought, was the best running back coming into this draft. Najee Harris is going to be really good for the Steelers too, but Travis Etienne can do everything. He has speed and physicality, but he can also catch out of the backfield, and he's a patient runner when he needs to be. Like, Travis Etienne has everything you could possibly want in a running back. They just have to, sharpen him up for the NFL, and that'll happen with experience. Like we saw with Jonathan Taylor last year. As the year goes on, we should see Travis Etienne becoming more and more of a factor in this Jaguars offense. And honestly, I'm excited to watch it. As much as I want the Jags to lose, there are so many people on this offense that I like that I'm just ready to watch it. I like DJ Chark is a very talented receiver. Marvin Jones Jr. is somebody that I take on a lot of my fantasy league teams pretty much every year, because he's not a spectacular receiver, but he's pretty consistent, and he's a deep threat, somebody that you can rely on. They've gotten pretty deep at receiver. Laviska Shenault showed last year that he can play, and they have the offensive line to protect Trevor Lawrence and to block for Travis Etienne. So the offense is the bright spot for this team, and the only reason I have them winning 6 games because the defense is getting better, but I don't even think they're going to be in the top half of the league in defense this year. I still think they're going to be bottom half material, and it's going to cost this team plenty of games, just like the inexperience of coaching in the NFL is going to cost his team some games. I have them going 6-11 this year, but the future is certainly promising, and the offense is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch this year.
Yeah, and I for all the stuff I say, trying to, because I couldn't make it as a stand-up comedian, so I try to palm my shit off on you guys. I'd like to see this organization at least gets on its feet. I don't think the NFL is any fun when teams only win 1 or 2 games. It disrupts everything. It disrupts the division. It makes things lopsided. Teams trying to get into. I mean, if you're the Colts and the Titans, They may battle out for this division. But if both the Jags and the Texans only win one game, that's not fair to another division where all four teams are just slugging it out. So I like to see competitiveness and teams put up some kind of a fight. And I hope this organization gets back on its feet as well.
Yeah, should happen sooner rather than later, by the way things are looking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're on to Tennessee. I like the Titans. It's hard for me to say that, but I like the Titans. I liked them last year. I liked them again this year. I liked them the year before that. I like what Vrabel's doing. This is deja vu. I said all of this to start my preseason. I almost said wrap up. That doesn't make sense. In our preseason episode, the AFC South last year. And I hate it they're in the same division with the Colts because I really want to root for them. I really like what Vrabel's doing here. I'm a Tannehill fan. I'm grateful that he got a chance to prove himself after Adam, the quarterback career killer Gase, almost ruined him. Hopefully Tannehill has called Sam Darnold. Ryan, if you're watching, I want you to call Sam. I want you to give the kid a call if you haven't already, and tell him that the breakup isn't his fault. Tell him that he's pretty and he's smart and he's funny, and that any guy would be lucky to have him as a player. Let him know that he's special, that somebody loves him, and he can actually do something in this league. Because that guy, never mind, you get it. I was thinking about Gase's demotion for the offensive coordinator for the rail splitters. You know what this means? You know what this means, Zach? You know what Gase is going to do? He's going to chuck a bunch of 17-year-old careers before they're over. See what I did there?
Nah, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Don't quit your day job.
Kind of coach that thinks he's doing his players a favor, but they all probably can't stand to play for him. So Chuck with a capital C, right, Zach?
That's right.
Anyway, I'm out of my coach box again. What?
I said we won't go there.
No.
Not today.
Yeah. All right. Vrabel did it. He appears to have broken the Beelzebub coaching tree curse. And he's a step ahead of Flores because it appears Flores is doing the same thing. I said last year during the preview that last year was his shit or get off the pot moment, that it was his year to prove that it wasn't a fluke, and he pooped. I liked what he was doing. I wasn't convinced last year. I'm convinced. I said they'd win 10 games. They won 11. I said they could win the division, but they would actually finish second behind the Colts. And they should have, if it wasn't for that stupid week 1 loss by Jacksonville, by the Colts to Jacksonville, that made me a liar, made everybody a liar, lost a bunch of people money in Vegas, I'm sure. Probably somebody jumping out of windows of their hotel after betting everything they had on that. What a weird turn of events. Affected the whole season. Anyway, I was going to say that they're going to finish second again, but the way things have been going in Indy this last week, I reserve the right to try to make an objective, rational decision for a couple of weeks. I can't. I'm trying to RELAX, Hefe. I'm trying. There's been a lot of weird shit happen. Thank God for the Hall of Fame induction to make us all forget about it. By all rights, Indy, in my opinion, Indy this year was minimally the third best team in the AFC, and maybe better than the Bills. That would have to remain to be seen. We could debate that all day. We'll see at the end of the year. I said maybe. Hefe, just calm down. I should ping you to that, whether you think the Colts are better than the Bills. But it's an injury disaster right now, and the whole thing's predicated on Wentz playing well through the whole year. He's not even well enough to play, let alone play well enough to win right now. So many variables. It's too early to tell. I do think the Colts are solid, so I think it's not a complete disaster. I just don't know that they can take the reins, the crown of the division from the Titans if Wentz isn't healthy. But one thing's for sure, there's a huge disparity again this year in this division. There are 2 teams all the way at the top and 2 teams all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way you're feeling. I actually have the Titans finishing 11-6, but I did this way before all the injuries started coming out of Indianapolis. So that may change. Like you said, I also reserve the right to kind of go back and change some things. But because I did this and set the entire schedule before we start the division debates, I'm going to roll with 11-6 for now. I will say that I have them losing to Arizona in a shocking upset in week 1. And then week 6, week 7, they play the Bills and the Chiefs. I have the Titans losing those games. And I also have them losing to the Steelers week 15 and dropping both games to the Colts. So let's say they split with the Colts, then they're 12-5, which is a lot better than 11-6. So, and they can even win another 2 games at that. So they can finish anywhere between 13, 14 wins at the maximum, in my opinion. But I'll start with saying that they did shock the world this offseason by acquiring superstar wide receiver Julio Jones from the Falcons. He'll join the Pro Bowlers Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown on the offensive side. And I believe the argument whether Ryan Tannehill is capable is well in the past at this point. He has proven the last 2 years that he is the quarterback for this team. He can handle it. He doesn't turn the ball over. He plays smart. This offense is going to be absolutely deadly if Julio Jones can stay healthy. That's a big if. He struggles to stay on the field. But, man, if Julio stays healthy, this offense is going to be absolutely ridiculous. So mark my words there. My biggest concerns with the Titans is their average defense. Can they play well enough to win football games? That's the big question for me. Time will tell. Like I said, I have them finishing 11-6 and being the number 6 seed in the AFC playoffs. But don't get me wrong, if this team clicks, they could do some real damage in the playoffs.
Now, one of the things I want to address first is the Julio Jones thing and not being able to stay on the field, because I feel like that's a media misconception that's happened. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers being an asshole has been a media misconception for years. Julio Jones plays hurt all the time. Like every year, he's questionable pretty much every week, but he was still getting 1,200 plus yards every year. He plays most games, even if he's playing hurt. It was just last year he wasn't able to stay on the field, and so then that turns into, is that going to be a problem as we go forward? As he gets older, is he going to have to miss the time? And there's no reason for me to think Julio that'll happen for Julio. I think he's a tough guy. This team is still going to lean on Derrick Henry a lot. They have A.J. Brown, another really physical presence. So with the pieces that are there and the way that this offense is designed to run, I don't think Julio is going to have everything on his shoulders and is going to have as much injury risk this year as he has with the Falcons. So I think he should be there, and this offense is going to be crazy. I had to nitpick the schedule. I really, because you just don't know with as good as the offense is going to be, and then as bad as this defense could be. It's tough to really say. I ended up having them at 13-4, but it's really just because the offense is so high-powered, and they did just enough in free agency on defense to be able to help them. I think Bud Dupree and Danico Autry are very overpaid for what they've done in their careers. Danico Autry was a Colt. He didn't do anything his whole career until DeForest Buckner was on the same defensive line. And then, he has one decent year with like 9.5 sacks, goes and gets paid in Tennessee. Congrats on getting the bag, but I'm glad you're there because they are way overpaying him there. They're also overpaying Bud Dupree. I think Jeffrey Simmons is really the only stud on this defense. But again, they've gotten enough help on this defense to at least help the offense a little more than they were able to do last year. And again, I have them going 13-4. It's a slightly better record than last year. And I'll wait till next week to let you guys know who I have winning the division.
All right. Fair enough. And next week we're going to break down the Colts. And then Hefe is going to reveal who he picked. I know who he picked.
I think you know, but you don't know.
You're right. Process of elimination. I can tell you there are 2 teams you didn't pick. So,
yeah, you're right.
All right. Anything you want to say before else? Last words before we go.
I really just had some quick, meaningless trivia for you guys. Doesn't have to do anything with the AFC South, but it's just something I heard this week, and I wanted to see if you guys knew this.
All right, shoot.
So there are 2 teams in NFL history that have gone completely defeated, 0-16 in the regular season. It was the Lions and the Browns. What was the preseason record for each of those teams?
4-0.
4-0 for both of them in the preseason.
Oh, baby.
Just like the Colts during the winningest decade in NFL history, consistently went 0-4 in the preseason.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I guess 4-0. It was like the Colts would have the best regular season win, but in the offseason they'd lose every single game.
Every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have a losing team that the coach is trying to build confidence because they suck ass. And then you have a really good team that the coach is trying, he's going over and above and figuring out extenuating circumstances and how deep he is and what they can get away with, and 2 completely different philosophies. I'm sure there's, 50 different philosophies in the preseason, but that's my oversimplified take on that. But that's fascinating. Where'd you hear that at?
I don't honestly even remember where I heard that at. Watching some video somewhere,
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, all right, that does it again for this week. Be sure to show us some love, like, share, subscribe. Remember, we are trying, we are pulling a community together of our people so we can interact more with our followers. So we're pulling that together on Patreon, and we have a lot of stuff we're going to offer to really build that community and interact with everybody. So look for that. Go to @Horsemen Sports on Facebook or Twitter, and like those things. Follow us so you'll get the updated information as we launch that here in the next week or 2. And again, next week we will bring you the rest of the AFC South as we break down the Colts. And enjoy your preseason games. Until then, deuces.